So we have 5 women, all of them coming from different age groups, backgrounds, lifestyle, each of them having different standards, moral principles, and all of them are really filthy rich. Each of them get an invitation to live inside a home of a weird, eccentric, loner novelist, provided they give him 1 million yen a month for rent. Crazy. This is the story of how these people interact and go on to their daily lives and maybe fall in love. I don't know. This is a review for the Japanese drama, Million Yen Women. I was looking for things to watch and then I found this. I read the summary and I was interested because we have 5 women, 5 different women with different backgrounds, and they just happen to live in someone else's home and pay him 1 million yen every month, and then that's something different. That's something weird. And I like weird and different. At the start of the drama, there are a lot of things going on, a lot of fun stuff, weird, happy, different scenarios going on with different characters. But there was something about their daily lives that was serene, that was comforting, that was really just laid back. Although each character, each woman, and even our main character have dark histories, they made it seem like everything was just normal, even though everything at hindsight, at their backgrounds, at their personalities and attitudes are different and very much not normal. They portrayed it in a way like everything else is. So I was hooked on that feeling, and then they turn it around and then twist it and it just messed it up. In a good way, I guess, because I felt something, and that's what you do when you watch something. You want to feel something, and I really did feel something, and I was entertained, and that was good. For our main character, Shin, I get his motivators. I get that he wants to be successful, and he wants his writing to speak for itself. I get all that. But I don't get is the relation of our main character with the plot. Why did everyone want to be with him? I didn't get why the invitation was given to him, why he was chosen. I didn't get why he allowed every woman to stay at his home. Regardless, he did have a choice. He wasn't bound to any contract or anyone coercing him. He just allowed things to happen. And I don't get that. I don't get how the plot moved on from one to another and how they even fell in love with the character without any description whatsoever why they fell in love with him. Although the main character didn't gel well with the plot, or they didn't really explain thoroughly why, it worked. His dynamics with the women around him made it work. I don't know why, but there was just chemistry with the 5 of them and him. It was there. And it was sort of a push and pull with everyone else, but there was chemistry. There was something to be explored. And I like that. That worked. For Minami, she was actually the oldest of the 5. What I liked about her at first was because she was presented as a strong character who wasn't bound by clothes or any of people's ideas. We get to see at first hand that she has a very dark history, and you know that this character is badass. But at the end of the story, mostly at the end of the episodes, we see her being passive, and I didn't like that. I was expecting a lot more from the character where she tries to up the main villain of the story or be a step ahead and still try to be, smart about it or be front about it, be strong about it. We didn't get to see her fulfilling the character of being strong. Instead, we see her, tied up and not really doing anything. The story wanted for her to be on that state. I get that. But there should have been something more from her, more active roles, more active conflicts when she tries to face the main villain of the story. And it just didn't happen. Hitomi was one of those boring characters. Not bored characters, but boring itself. She didn't really have any other motivators than being a fan. But because she is a boring character and she's a fan, logically, it really suited well that she and Shin have a thing going on. I get that. Her personality fitted well with the main character. I get it. But other than being the daughter of someone famous, there's not really much anything that could go on with her. She just reads books. And that itself feels like a boring character. She didn't really have a dark past or any sort of thing that could make her stand out. But I guess with a cast of 5 different women, 5 completely different women, a boring character could actually work. Yuki was one of those characters that was rude, straightforward, and very much doesn't have any edit button, and she just says what she thinks. I get that, and most of the people would probably gravitate towards her because she was cold. And I don't know, I just didn't really found her interesting at the start. But towards the end, I get why she's like that, why she comes off as cold and very straightforward. And I think you'd get it too when you do watch it. It's just that when at the end, when things finally uncover themselves, her acting was a bit off for me, or I don't know what the character is. It was just a bit confusing on how she executed her role a bit. I wish there was more craziness or a little bit more structure in how her craziness was executed. But it did work for the drama, but I just wish there was something a little bit more extra with how she presented the character. Probably out of the 5, Nanaka was my favorite character. It wasn't because her acting was greater than the others, it was just because she stood out among all of the 5 where she was happy, she was bubbly, and I gravitated towards that, and that was very fairly subjective. When you do watch the drama, you would see all of the characters and you would probably have a one favorite character because you just, related towards the character, you found her fun, and that was it for Nanaka and me. It wasn't because of her acting. Everything for the acting with the others are also on point. But with her, I just felt more relatable. This is going to be a spoiler, but what I didn't like with the trope with trailers is the prettiest among them will, that, and it happened to her. She was already being built up and we already like her. She was already the center of the story and things were happening around her, and then things just stopped. I didn't like that part, but I guess it's part of the story. I invested a lot in the character and it was a great end for the character in the way that things did happen the way it is. For Midori, I don't think I wasn't that much invested in her character. Yes, she had one of the best storylines among the 5, where she evolved into a completely different person at the end of it, but I wasn't really sure of how and why she went towards those choices that she did. Granted, she did explain most of that. I just wasn't really sold with what she was presenting me, like how the story presented her as someone meek and someone strong and then someone really different at the end of it. It just didn't really sold me. What sold me was the literary agent of Shin. Out of everyone in the cast, I think he is the most grounded, he's the most relatable, and he's the most normal. He just wants to do well at his job and he wants to make Shin famous. That's it. He isn't really calculating. He isn't really scheming. He just wants to do his job right. And he just is trying to find the best way for Shin to be successful. And I get that. And he's the most normal one. Regarding the 2 characters, the literary critic and the rival of Shin, they're probably the most pathetic ones out of the whole story. We get to see them at the start being foreshadowed as villainous and someone dark and someone who has really sinister plans. But at the end of the episodes, throughout it, there wasn't really anything concrete about them. They didn't really do anything that was really damaging towards Shin's character. In hindsight, they actually kind of helped Shin to be successful and to get the attention of the villain of the story. Speaking of villains, the mother of the police officer who died could have been something more. Her background, her storyline, her motivators were well enough for her to become something more of a villain or an antagonist towards Shin. If the drama explored her character and provided her more opportunities for her to grow or mess the main protagonist, it would have been so much better. I give this video a rating of 5 out of 5. I like the diversity of the characters, their personality, their backgrounds, and their dynamics towards each other. Further off, I like the mundane daily things that they do and the weirdness of it all. And then the plot line twists and turns and it hits you at the back and you just didn't know what happened and why. And it just is surprising. And I like that. What I didn't like about the drama was the lack of reason behind these women choosing Shin. Why Shin? Why did you fall in love with Shin? Why did you like Shin? Why did you choose Shin for something evil? I don't get it. There wasn't really exact logical explanation of the reasons of these women. But in hindsight, it actually worked. The ambiance, the way the story was told, the way their dynamics are with Shin and chemistry, it just worked. Even without logic, it just somehow was well put together and it flowed really well. Except maybe for Hitomi, where we know that Hitomi was actually a fan and she really did like him. My recommendation is definitely watch it. It is 10 episodes with 24 minutes on each one. Definitely short, sweet, and worth it. If you found this video helpful and enjoyable, do give me a like. If you want to see more Asian drama TV series and reviews in the future, do hit that bell button and subscribe. Our word for the day is shosetsu, which is a novel. Minami says this a lot towards Shin at the first couple of episodes, and yeah, that's it. After watching it, I felt sad. There were definitely... She's in the shot.